Double Dash is the Empire Strikes Back of Mario Kart. And not just because it lets you form inappropriate relationships, or have a father and son literally beat the crap out of each other in a maintenance room.
I am your father.
No! What I actually mean is how Double Dash was a misunderstood masterpiece when it released over 20 years ago, with the two biggest gaming websites being IGN and GameSpot scoring at the absolute lowest of any 3D Mario Kart entry. Just like how Empire Strikes Back had some underwhelming reviews at the time of its release too. But much like that movie, time has been incredibly kind to Double Dash, with many in more recent years starting to recognize its true brilliance. Though I've always known it was peak since day one. So here are my 10 reasons for why Double Dash is the GOAT. Such as how you can literally punch people. Look, I'm not a violent person, but I refuse to believe that I'm the only one who has always wanted to punch Peter Piranha in his big dumb face. And Double Dash makes that dream a reality, as it's the only Mario Kart game that lets you directly attack your opponents at any time, without needing to have an item. Although, you can steal your opponent's items with a well-timed punch, which let me tell you feels so darn good, especially as it's balanced against needing more skill than almost any actual item. Furthermore, it can be used for much more than just attacking, including last-second dodges, or getting back on track after going off-road, though this move isn't risk-free, as a mistimed one can just as easily send you flying off a cliff or into oncoming traffic. The only real downside to the punch ability is that it's only available when playing in co-op mode, although that's not actually much of a problem, because co-op is amazing! Let me put it this way, Double Dash's co-op feature turns every race into a mini Battle of Hoth, where a driver and gunner have to work together to dodge obstacles and attack enemies. Now sure, there may not be any AT-ATs here, but this dinosaur is pretty close, right? Point is, Double Dash is one of just a handful of Nintendo games that offer a true asymmetrical experience, with one person focused entirely on driving, while the gunner provides essential support, in the form of firing items, charging up the drift, punching, and even swapping roles and items when needed. Heck, even the starting boost can only be maximized if both players time it perfectly. Hence, Double Dash.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Now, Mario Kart has always been at its best when playing with friends, but Double Dash's co-op mode takes it to a whole new level, by allowing two people to work together as a team, which leads to far more excitement, far more heartbreak, and a whole lot of screaming. Where are my blue sparks, Tom? Sorry, I'm again having PAX Tournament flashbacks. It is by far the best times I've had with the entire series, as every Mario Kart since, as great as they are, have just felt slightly hollow by comparison to the unique greatness we once had. And this co-op mechanic paved the way for even more unique elements in the game, including 16-player support. For the first and only time so far, Mario Kart supported 16 players at once, divided across 8 karts. And it's still more than even the latest entry being Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even if the next Mario Kart looks to be taking the crown. And incredibly, this is one of only 3 first-party games to make use of the GameCube's LAN adapter, which allowed up to 8 GameCubes to connect together, making for a possible 16 players all playing at the same time, with each pair even getting their own screen in that setup too. And it made for one of the most epic LAN parties around. Trust me when I say that no Mario Kart tournament hits quite like a Double Dash tournament, with 8 teams and 16 players all yelling and screaming constantly while bouncing around the same track. It's chaos at its absolute finest. And it's that wonderful sense of competition that helps make Double Dash so freaking fun. And as it turns out, that applies to Encore too. In case you don't know, Encore is an app that's perfect for discovering and shopping for amazing games, such as Mario Kart Double Dash. It's basically TikTok but for gaming auctions, where you can swipe through videos created by real collectors to find exactly what you're looking for. And some of those auctions for rarer items can get crazy competitive, with fast-paced bidding and friendly trash talk flying around in the auction's final moments. Just look at this simulated bidding war for an original in-the-box copy of Earthbound, as Big Game Hunter keeps raising the stakes until his opponents finally bow out. And you can easily keep track of any auctions that you care about by saving them to ensure you receive a notification when there's only 5 minutes left. And that is what Encore is all about. The thrill of the hunt, competitive bidding, friendly trash talk, and of course, the chance to score some fantastic deals. Furthermore, Encore takes your trust and security seriously, by not only using ID verification to confirm every seller is who they say they are, but also through the Encore guarantee that protects you in the event that an item you won doesn't quite match the description. And not only are the sellers trustworthy, even frequently reaching out to the auction winners to ensure they're in good hands, but the customer service is fantastic too. There are even free giveaways you can enter with Encore covering the shipping for the winner, so you don't end up paying anything at all. And once you've entered the giveaway, you can share your link with your friends to earn 5 extra entries for yourself, increasing your odds of winning. See, co-op really does make everything better. If this sounds good to you, you can use my link in the description below to download Encore right now via the iOS or Android app stores in order to start winning deals on video games and consoles today. And speaking of winning, item swapping is a total game changer. Even though the 2-item gameplay came back in Mario Kart Deluxe, it completely missed out on the heart and soul of the idea, which was being able to swap those 2 items, so that for 1, you can fire them in any order, or 2, strategically hold on to one of them for as long as you need to. And this simple idea added so much depth to the gameplay, because every set of double items you got presented a choice, which one to use first and which one to save for later. And even then, how much later? Like, should you activate that star right now, or maybe save it for later when you're in a pinch? Or let's say you got a mushroom at a really inopportune time. Well, just save it for later by swapping and then defend yourself with the other item. It's legitimately probably one of the smartest things Mario Kart has ever done. And then they never did it again! And it adds depth in other ways too, such as how you can easily see both items that your opponents are holding. So dare you try and pass the team ahead now? Or is that red shell there's going to be a problem? Perhaps it'd be better to hold back until you can defend against it. Or maybe it's worth trying to steal it from them by ramming into them with a mushroom or a well-timed punch, which is yet another amazing component to this game. But speaking of having 2 items, double item boxes add depth. Given Double Dash's nature, it naturally introduced a double item box that awards 2 items at once. Which means you'll probably want to grab those as often as you can to ensure you're being as efficient as possible. But the real brilliance of them is they're not always in the easiest to get locations, such as by being on the outside of a turn or in harder to reach areas, which lends a wonderful sense of risk versus reward throughout the race. Is it worth going out of your way for a double item box if it costs you some time? Especially if another player gets to it first, as they don't always respawn in the same location. Well, let me just say that those double item boxes start looking pretty darn good if you're empty-handed and losing by a fair amount. Now, even though they were brought back for the deluxe version of Mario Kart 8 to the game's betterment, they're not positioned quite as strategically as they were in Double Dash, making the risk versus reward feeling not quite as compelling. Especially since they always respawn in the same places, unlike in Double Dash. And they do so incredibly quickly, meaning if you want a double item box, you're basically guaranteed to get it. Furthermore, Double Dash's double item boxes open the door to another feature unique to Double Dash, being warp pipes? Seriously, how is Double Dash the only Mario Kart that features warp pipes on any level? Like, how? They're practically in every other Mario game ever made. It'd be like making a Star Wars movie without featuring this.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
Quiet.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Get the point?
So it's pretty shocking that Double Dashes features the only 2 sets of warp pipes throughout the entire series. And it's just fun to take them, especially with that classic warp pipe sound. And it's just another great way of bringing Mario's world to life, which makes it all the sadder that these warp pipes were removed from future remakes of these same tracks. Now interestingly, not only are these warp pipes well off the beaten path, but they're not even shortcuts, so they teleport you a few feet, if even that, as this one spits you out directly overhead. So why would anyone want to use them beyond the cute novelty? Well, it ties back to my previous point, because both sets of warp pipes offer a guaranteed double item box for taking them, which again ties perfectly back to that sense of risk versus reward. And speaking of items, Double Dash's items are better for 2 key reasons. One is the more zany nature of the items themselves. Bullet bills are old and busted by this point. How about an item with a real bite, like a chain chomp that hauls your butt around while violently taking out anything in its path? Or how about a comically huge spiked shell that clears a path for you? Even small barriers are no match for it, which makes Baby Park crazier than ever. Even banana peels get a unique variant with a giant one that transforms into 3 smaller ones when hit, kind of like a Russian nesting doll. Look, I could go through all of them, but I think you get the point. Not only are the items generally more fun and chaotic here, but they play a greater strategic role too. And this is where my second reason comes in, because these more special items are actually exclusive to specific pairs of characters, meaning only they have a chance to gain that specific item, which not only makes your character selection more impactful, but doubly so since you choose 2 characters, allowing for all kinds of item combinations. So if you find yourself falling behind frequently, maybe you should choose one of the babies for their chain chomp item, plus one of the toads for a golden mushroom. Or if you go on the offensive, why not add a Bowser in their giant spike shell? Along with, say, maybe a Birdo or Yoshi for their egg homing attack that drops 3 more items. Wait a second, Yoshi, are you really wasting eggs willy-nilly? In this economy? Have you seen the price of eggs recently? But beyond even that, it might even change how you approach specific opponents, such as by knowing that there's a chance Bowser could pull out a massive shell. Now, yes, I know that some of these items return to Mario Kart Tour, but are we really sure that's even a real game and not just a collective hallucination? In any case, the unique character items add yet another layer that makes Double Dash more strategic than just about any other Mario Kart game. But there's yet another reason for that too. And that's the fact that defense takes real skill this time. Because, let's be real, defending yourself in Mario Kart is typically pretty brainless. All you really have to do is mindlessly drag an item behind you or activate a ring of items to act as a shield. There's no skill, little strategy, and no real satisfaction. Even worse, these items make it especially annoying to pass others, especially when you're all clumped together. Because it's far too easy to accidentally run into someone else's item shield through no real fault of your own or skill of theirs. Heck, it's often frustrating for both parties involved, especially when you factor in online lag, which often results in ghost attacks. On top of there being many times when I would prefer someone just be able to pass me, rather than them accidentally running into me and wiping out the only defense I had. And even worse, this gameplay mechanic can have a domino effect that influences practically every racer. After all, why would second place bother firing the red shell in first place when they can see it'll clearly be blocked? Especially as it would then leave themselves vulnerable to third place behind them. And that kind of logic invisibly cascades down the entire line. It discourages attacking and risk-taking. But you know what game was the exception? Yeah, good old Double Dash. Because not only were there no protective shells or banana barriers, but you couldn't even drag the items behind you either. Instead, your only defense was to drop an item behind you, hoping that you timed it right to block an incoming attack. And this added a crucial layer of skill that's missing from the most recent games, as it demanded both good timing and situational awareness. Sure, the game would still clue you in when a red shell was inbound, but you had to anticipate the best time to drop an item to deflect it. Especially because if you turn too sharply afterward, the red shell might have time to weave around the very item that you dropped to block it, which then offers you the possibility of driving more in a straight line to improve your chances, but at the possible expense of maintaining a good racing line or even going off-road entirely. Do you see how much more complex and interesting that is? Players trailing behind others are now incentivized to attack, even when they can see they have a defensive item at the ready, because there's no guarantee they'll be able to block it this time. And conversely, if you're the one playing defense, it feels so much more satisfying to block an attack with skill and good timing, rather than just mindlessly holding down a button. And it adds a real sense of tension every time the red shell indicator pops up on the screen, because you're rarely ever truly safe. And to that point, the borderline out of control feeling is so fun. Okay, I know this might sound a little crazy, but Mario Kart 8 handles almost too well. Let me explain in the only way I know how.
Let's go racing! It's Super Mario Kart Funny Car Madness! Only on Super NES! Turn the track into a giant mud pit! Or burn rubber on ice, wood, or asphalt! Mix it up for the big boys! See Bowser in his Bigfoot-dropping truck! See Yoshi's go-kart really go! Mushrooms, banana peels, turtle shells! Dynamite! Check your rear view and make him eat dust! Or go into battle mode and ruin his day! 2 speeds! Fast and way too fast! It's 2-player fun on the split screen! Only for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System!
That ad perfectly captures the insanity that was the original Super Mario Kart. At the time, it felt wild and out of control. Even a mastery of the controls still felt like you were on the precipice of disaster around every corner. But after decades of so-called refinement, Mario Kart sadly no longer feels this way, with your vehicle basically being glued to the road at all times. Whereas Double Dash is the only 3D game in the series to recapture that original magical feeling. It's a little looser, a little goofier, and a whole lot more wild, with you bouncing and bopping all over the place. And it just feels more fun, which I personally think is a better fit for Mario Kart. It should feel a little wild, and not as if you're perfectly in control at every moment. And that brings us to our final reason. Double Dash has more personality. Obviously, Mario Kart wouldn't be what it is today without the Mario gang. There's just something about knocking these guys around that's always hilarious. Maybe it's their incessant screaming. Point is, Mario Kart has always featured larger-than-life personalities crammed into tiny go-kart frames. But Double Dash took it to a level that no other Mario Kart has. For one, you have twice the amount of characters jammed into those tiny frames, which means twice the amount of yelps, cheers, and screams. And even better, you can see more of these characters than you can in any other game too, as the gunners riding in back are completely unobstructed by their kart body itself. Even better, you're not stuck looking at their butts or the back of their heads the entire time, as that second character often looks around and even faces the camera on occasion. And of course, this applies to every other set of racers too, making the entire thing feel more lively and personal when you're just jostling around for position. And since the second player isn't bolted to the kart, they're free to move around the cabin in all kinds of ways. They turn around, adjust their footing, juggle multiple power-ups, and the best part, by far, is when they get knocked off the cart and are holding on for dear life as they're helplessly being dragged around, while also doubling as a unique punishment for being hit, as they can't hold items or power slide while being dragged. All these touches lend Double Dash a crazy sense of kinetic energy that's far beyond any other Mario Kart to date. Yeah, there may only be 8 karts, but that's 16 characters, half of which at any given time display more freedom and animations than any other game in the series. And that's not even to mention some of the unique track details too, like being able to see entirely different tracks than the one you're on in the background, giving the illusion of a giant interconnected world. How cool is that? Cool enough for its own Cool Bits episode, so give that a watch after this video's done. So there you have it, my 10 reasons as to why Double Dash is the best Mario Kart ever made. And you know what, that's not even all of my reasons, as I could easily keep going. Like how it's the only Mario Kart that lets you adjust a lap count, allowing you to turn any race into a 1-lap track, or making Baby Park extra crazy with a breathtaking 9 laps.
Dear God, it's beautiful.
Or how you can easily change the items available during a race, to be more skill-based ones, or just the crazier ones, or even no items at all. And how about that all-cup tour that's never returned, which not only let you race on every track in the game in random order, back to 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 back, but it always smartly bookended that series of races in the same way, with the easy Luigi circuit at the start and the death-defying Rainbow Road at the very end. It always ensured an epic experience. And it's for all these reasons, plus even more, that Double Dash is still #1 in my book. And until another Mario Kart comes along that also features a Double Dash mode, I don't think that's a crown that'll ever be taken from it. Hey, thanks for watching, and make sure to click that subscribe button for tons more Mario Kart in the future and other fun videos too. And thanks again to Encore for sponsoring this video. And with that, we'll catch you later.